The colonization of the Philippines, a nation shaped by struggle and spirit. The Philippines, an archipelago of over 7,000 islands, was unlike any of its Southeast Asian neighbors. Long before a central government could unite its diverse people, before one culture could truly define its identity, colonizers arrived and altered its destiny. For centuries, people had migrated to these islands from regions like Indonesia and China. By the late 1300s, Islam had begun to spread, introduced by Arabian traders like Karim al-Maktoum. Two major Muslim sultanates would eventually rise, but their growth was soon interrupted by a new power with a new religion. The Spanish brought Christianity, colonial ambition, and centuries of change. But before we dive into that, initially the Spanish saw the Philippines as just a pit stop to the fabled Spice Islands. But their plans changed when the Dutch and Portuguese blocked their eastward expansion. So Spain turned its focus to these islands. In 1521, Ferdinand Magellan dropped anchor at Cebu. His mission? Claim the islands for Spain and spread Christianity. He quickly formed an alliance with Rajah Humabon, the local chieftain, who, along with his wife and followers, converted to Catholicism. But not everyone welcomed the newcomers. On the island of Mactan, a brave chief named Datu Lapu-Lapu refused to bow to foreign rule. Despite warnings, Magellan sailed to Mactan, hoping to bring Lapu-Lapu to submission. Instead, he met fierce resistance. On that fateful day, Magellan was slain, marking the first recorded resistance to European colonization in Southeast Asia. The survivors fled. Some were even poisoned at a deceptive feast by their former ally, Rajah Humabon. The next Spanish leader, Juan Sebastián Elcano, decided it was time to head home. They returned to Spain in 1522. But Spain wasn't done. In 1565, Miguel López de Legazpi returned with a stronger force. He expelled the Portuguese and established the first permanent Spanish colony. 6 years later, Manila was founded, a city that would become the capital of the Spanish East Indies. Christianity spread rapidly. Lowland and coastal tribes embraced the new faith. But Muslim communities, especially in Sulu and Mindanao, resisted. They were labeled Moros, and by 1578, war had begun between the Spanish and Brunei's Muslim defenders. Spain allied with a Bruneian prince who wanted to reclaim his throne. Together, they invaded Brunei, but tropical diseases proved deadlier than any enemy. After just 72 days, the Spanish retreated and the prince died shortly after. Still, the war between colonizers and the Moros raged on for centuries. Meanwhile, internal struggles plagued the colony. Spain faced resistance from the Dutch, raids from Japanese pirates, and economic strain. By the time the 7 Years' War broke out, Spain was already spread thin. In 1762, British troops captured Manila. For nearly 2 years, the British ruled the capital, exposing deep cracks in Spanish control. Chinese merchants, mistreated under Spanish rule, sided with the British, a betrayal that would not be forgotten. After the war, Spain regained Manila but realized it needed change. They reformed the economy, ended their trade monopoly, and opened Philippine ports to global trade. By the 1800s, exports like sugar, tobacco, and hemp boomed. Education reforms followed. In 1863, public schooling was introduced, but still under the church's grip. Most Filipinos couldn't speak or read Spanish properly. Yet the elite class, the ilustrados, began seeking education in Europe. Among them was José Rizal. This quiet revolutionary used words, not weapons. His novels, Noli Me Tangere, Touch Me Not, and El Filibusterismo, The Reign of Greed, opened the eyes of many Filipinos. When he returned home in 1892, he formed the La Liga Filipina, a peaceful reform group. But peace was not enough. Tensions rose. The cry for independence grew louder. In 1896, the Philippine Revolution exploded. Though Rizal had no role in the violence, Spanish authorities accused him of treason and executed him, a martyr for a nation's dreams. Leadership passed to Emilio Aguinaldo, who fought bravely but was forced into exile in Hong Kong after the Pact of Biak-na-Bato. Still, the resistance didn't end. Leaders like General Francisco Macabulos refused to surrender and even formed a shadow government. Then, in 1898, a new player entered the scene, the United States. When the USS Maine exploded in Havana Harbor, America declared war on Spain, changing the course of Philippine history once again. Spanish rule, after more than 300 years, was nearing its end. But for the Filipino people, a new colonizer was on the horizon.